Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we've got a seriously fantastic adventure lined up for you. We're going to dive straight into a classic, totally unforgettable story written by one of India's absolute greatest authors, R.K. Narayan. The story is simply called A Hero, and together we are going to unpack exactly what that word really means. So let's jump right in.
Okay, let's be completely honest here. Are you afraid to sleep alone in a dark room? I want you to really truly picture this. You're in bed, the lights go out, the room goes pitch black, and suddenly you hear this strange scratching sound or a weird creak coming from the dark corner of the room. What would you actually do? Would you, pull the covers way up over your head? Would you run away? Or would you stay put and be brave? Well, today we're going to find out exactly how a completely ordinary boy faced this exact terrifying situation.
So here is our roadmap for today's quest. We're going to start by meeting Swami. Then it's on to the darkroom challenge. After that, we'll see how he becomes the accidental hero and figure out what makes a hero in the first place. Then we'll equip some language and grammar tools, and finally, it's going to be your turn to write. Let's get moving.
All right, Section 1. Meet Swanee.
Let's quickly run through our cast of characters so we know exactly who is in the house. First up is Swami. He starts out as a very timid, easily frightened young boy. Then there's his father, who is definitely strict, but ultimately just wants the absolute best for his son. We've got his mother, who is super loving and supportive, his granny, who is basically his safe space. I mean, he normally sleeps right beside her every single night. And finally, the wild card of the story, the burglar.
Moving right along to Section 2, the darkroom challenge.
Boys should not be cowards. That's the quote that kicks this whole thing off. You see, Swami's totally normal, comfortable life gets turned completely upside down, all because of a simple newspaper. His dad was reading this report about a remarkably brave kid. He looks over at his own son, who, remember, is terrified of the dark, and decides it's time for a little bit of tough love. He issues the ultimate challenge. The command was absolute. Sleep alone in the dark office room tonight. Just imagine how poor Swami felt in that moment. He made excuses, he pleaded, he literally begged, but his dad was not going to take no for an answer. The trap was set, the door was closed, and Swami was completely, utterly alone in the dark.
Which brings us to Section 3, the accidental hero.
Let's actually track this night of terror hour by hour. At 8 p.m., he gets the dreaded command from his dad. By 10 p.m., the fear is just so overwhelming that he totally abandons the bed and actually crawls under a wooden bench, trembling with fear. Midnight strikes. The house is dead silent. I mean, you could hear a pin drop. Until he hears it. Footsteps. Finally, at 1 a.m., in a state of pure, unfiltered panic, Swanee reaches out in the pitch black, grabs a leg, and bites down as hard as he possibly can. The man absolutely screams. The shout is so loud it wakes up the entire house. The lights flick on, father rushes into the room, and what do they find? The monster wasn't a monster at all. It was actually a burglar. Swami had literally just sunk his teeth into a thief who was trying to rob his house. Because of his wild, desperate move, the burglar is caught, the police are thrilled, and everyone is suddenly calling Swami a hero.
Now for Section 4, what makes a hero?
It's a pretty funny twist, right? I mean, Swami was terrified out of his mind. He thought he was fighting off an actual ghost. But as the story teaches us, a hero acts bravely despite fear. Being totally fearless, that's not the requirement. True courage is taking action even when your knees are practically knocking together. We have to face our fears with confidence because, as Swami found out, we are often so much stronger than we think we are.
All right, on to Section 5, language and grammar tools. We've unlocked some really cool power-ups from this story, so let's equip them.
First power-up, our story's main villain, the burglar. A burglar is specifically a person who enters a house or building illegally to steal things. Honestly, if it weren't for this burglar showing up, Swami would have just had a really bad, scary night's sleep. But instead, he earned a hero's title. Next up, we have the word timid. This perfectly describes exactly how Swami felt at the very beginning of the night. If you're timid, you're shy, you're fearful, or you're easily frightened, you kind of lack courage. But hey, as we just saw, being timid at 8 p.m. definitely doesn't mean you can't be a hero by 1 a.m. And that leads us straight into our third word, courage. Simply put, bravery. This is the ultimate goal of our quest today. It is the ability to do something that absolutely frightens you. Our final vocabulary power-up is tremble. To shake because of fear, cold, or weakness. Picture poor Swami huddled under that wooden bench, just trembling as he waited for the ghosts to come get him. It's a fantastic descriptive word to really make your own writing feel alive.
Okay, let's level up our grammar skills real quick by comparing two types of speech. First, we have direct speech. For example, Father said, "Sleep alone tonight." Those are the exact word-for-word sounds that came out of Father's mouth. Then we have indirect speech. For example, Father told Swami to sleep alone that night. Here, we are reporting what happened without using the exact word-for-word quote.
Now, converting direct speech to indirect speech might seem like some kind of magic trick, but it's actually just a super simple three-step mechanic. First, you just remove the quotation marks. Poof, they're gone. Second, you change the pronouns if you need to, just to make sure the sentence makes sense from the narrator's point of view. And third, you change the tense or the time words where required. Like, notice how the word tonight in the direct speech became that night in the indirect speech? Once you practice these three little steps, you're going to be an absolute grammar master. And finally, Section 6, your turn to write. It is time to complete your final quest for today. I want you to literally imagine that you are Swami. The sun has finally come up, you survived, and you are sitting at your desk. You need to write a diary entry describing this crazy wild night. Make sure you hit these 3 checkpoints in your writing. Write down your feelings. Describe exactly what happened under that wooden bench. And finally, tell your diary what you learned about yourself. And I'm going to leave you with one final provocative thought to debate. After everything we've looked at and analyzed today, do you think Swami was truly brave, or was he just incredibly, incredibly lucky? Think about his actions, think about his fear, and think about the end result. Drop your answers in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining me on this fantastic adventure. Keep learning, keep facing your fears, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.